Hey everyone, welcome back. If you didn't know, my name is Jazmine, aka That Curly Top, and today I'm going to answer a couple of questions you guys had asked me on Instagram. So yeah, just gonna jump into it today. So number one, what do you do for work, and describe your career journey / have you ever felt lost? And short answer is I work at Balboa Park, which is an amazing park here in San Diego. It's my favorite place, and I feel very grateful to be able to work there. I originally was hired for programs and special events. However, due to COVID, I'm not really doing events, and I mainly focus on doing like digital content and video creation right now. So I don't have much of a career journey. I'm 24, figuring out a lot of things. So I've mainly worked in retail and marketing, which was my major in college, was marketing. But feeling lost, that is something that I can definitely identify with. I just got the job that I have now 2 weeks before COVID hit, and which I'm really grateful for. But previous to that, I was actually unemployed for 5 months because I wanted to do more like freelance work, which honestly, kind of like looking back, wasn't the best time for me to jump into what I did at the time. And that was really difficult for me, but it also was good for a lot of other reasons. Because in the time, I really had to learn that my worth and who I am isn't dependent on the job that I choose to do or the work that I am able to produce. And I don't know, it was very difficult for me. Second, learned that full-time freelancing isn't my thing. I do think that now if I were to jump into that season of freelancing, I probably would do a better job at it. But I think how unstructured it is and having to hustle people for your money and figure out taxes and like how separate it is. I just kind of like having a consistent income, and I learned that the hard way. So I feel like I'll always have at least a part-time job. And 3, I learned that I just need to be open to whatever opportunities come my way, and I really don't know where my career journey is going to lead me, but I wouldn't even guess that I'd be able to work where I'm working now, and I just love it so much. And there was multiple places that I applied to, and none of them looked like this position, and I think honestly that this is the best place I can be. I wouldn't ask for anything else. So the second question is, how would you describe your aesthetic? This is something I'm currently trying to figure out. I was talking about it with my friend Gabby, where I think my style is very Danish, Nordic style almost. But I kind of like to call it 5-year-old, just because I'll look at different little kids in their outfits, and honestly a lot of them look very similar to what I wear, and or I'm very inspired by what they're wearing. I just love wearing colors and quirky things, but also making sure they're super comfortable and layering the weirdest stuff together. And I think a part of that comes from trying to live more sustainably, is that you just come up with really weird combos because you're just trying to love what you have. And I feel like from that it's really affected my style and just really having fun with it. So I would lean more towards 5-year-old is my style. Question number 3 is, what or who inspires you? And right now for me, the entire intersectional environmentalist group just really inspires me, just because I love the diversity of this group. People with different perspectives, and specifically having more BIPOC at the forefront of the movement is something that I've been advocating for. And be able to see these people just come together and really start creating that, and creating a safe space for BIPOC, and also fighting against environmental injustice specifically, and making it in a really fun and cool way is really inspiring to me. It just shows that the movement is going forward and it is becoming more inclusive. It just makes me so excited. So. Question number 4 is, are you vegan for animals, earth, or your health? And this one, I'm actually not vegan, I'm vegetarian, but I do eat predominantly vegan or plant-based meals, so I can understand the confusion for that. But I am vegetarian because of environmental and health reasons. Health reasons is just because in my family there has been a lot of health issues tied to diet, and I just want to get in the habit of eating better now so I can prevent those diseases. But also for the environmental aspect, of course, and being able to tread more lightly on the planet. I also think that in our modern society, we just have such a disconnect with our food, which is why I think I never would fully become vegan or advocate for others to become vegan, because I feel like there's so many different layers to our food, where something could be vegan, but it could be processed and packaged in plastic, and a negative environmental impact you might not think of, though it is way better than eating meat for every single meal. But I do think that I would just want to see us grow a better relationship with our food. I also just like never want to discredit BIPOC, specifically indigenous peoples who have such a beautiful relationship with their food historically and modern, and I want to be able to like champion that to the forefront as well and not look down on that. I know there's a lot of different views on that, so please don't come at me for that. These are just my opinions, so we're gonna stick with that. Next is, how did you start your sustainability journey? So long story short, it basically happened when I went to my university, and it was the first time I actually had resources and people actually teaching me about sustainability and being better towards the environment. And my first like official like sustainability step was quitting fast fashion, because I was a fashion merchandising major and realized that I couldn't keep advocating for fashion the way that it stood and be a decent human being. Honestly, that's just how I felt. But along the way, I did start having my eyes open to other ways that sustainability and advocating for environmental justice was such a important factor in all aspects of life. So it just kind of like slowly like bloomed from there. But that's a little piece of my sustainability journey. Okay, the best way people who can't afford sustainable brands can still buy clothes they need. This is a very popular question. There's so many different conversations I have surrounding this, but to just keep it short, I would say that thrifting, saving up for items that I really want, and just loving what I have was like the best way that I was able to go about still being fun and cool and stylish while also balling on a budget. But I would say also to ask yourself, if you are asking yourself, I can't afford sustainable brands, to really ask if you really can. Just because I feel like a lot of people I've talked to have told me that they can't afford sustainable brands because they're like, sustainable brands are so expensive, like I'll never be able to afford that. Then they'll turn around and shop at like Urban Outfitters or like Anthropologie. I say those brands specifically because there are a lot of really awesome sustainable brands that are similar to their styles and for the same price point, if not lower sometimes. So I just tell people that like it also takes a mental switch as well. Recognize that there are sustainable options out there, and it's just gonna look different and maybe take a little bit more time to be able to look for those really awesome brands that fit your aesthetic. But if you are someone who you're still like, Jazmine, I really can't afford that. Well, I would just say not to be hard on yourself for having to buy clothes that you need. Clothing, I believe, should be a basic necessity for all human beings, and I think that in modern society we've created this horrific system that in order to meet that basic need, that other people have been exploited in the process and environments have been ruined. But that's not something that rests on your shoulders. That is a systematic issue, and also the people who run those corporations know fully well what they're doing. And if they don't fully know what they're doing, they are being ignorant to the issues at hand, because there's no way you can't not know that that's happening at this point. So don't put the full blame on yourself, give yourself grace, and I feel like you can have peace about like buying that new item if you know your own personal situation as well, and you don't have to beat yourself up about it. Okay, any random thrifting tips / your all-time favorite thrift find? I miss thrifting so much, and I'm still debating whether or not it's safe to go to a thrift store. I don't know. You guys let me know if you guys have gone. I just feel like here in Southern California it's still like pretty rough in this area, so I'd rather be safe than sorry. But for those who are in countries or counties that are safe, I would say that one, if you are shopping around and there's a print or style you're like vaguely interested in, just grab that item and try it on if you can, because most of the things that I've fallen in love with are pieces where I was like, oh, I don't really know, like it's kind of weird, but once I tried it on, I'm like, wow, this is like my favorite item. And then the ones where I was like, oh, that's for sure my favorite thing, didn't actually turn out to be that way, so you might be surprised. And two, it's kind of, actually this is probably my favorite thrift tip, is that I like to follow other people who have like similar aesthetics to mine or like who look cute, and I don't like stalk them, but I like kind of follow them around the store and like see if they pick up something, or like if they grab something and they put it back, or if there was like they went to the dressing room and something didn't fit them and they left them out. I like kind of go through those areas. They also have like a really awesome eye and are able to curate really awesome pieces. And three, I would recommend to know the days that your thrift store restocks, and also to get there early. You might not get the best deals of the week, but you do get the best picks. You might also be boxing like other like resellers and like older people, but it's part of the game. It's fun. Relationship advice / how did you know your husband was the one? LOL. I don't actually have like a ton of relationship advice because Matt is actually my first boyfriend. We're actually both each other's like first real like relationship. So general like dating advice, I don't have a ton of. But a piece of advice I would give is that to remind yourself that each and every single relationship is very different. You have two very unique people coming together. It's gonna look very different from one person to the next. What I think what really matters is the health and maturity of that relationship, and that this person isn't compromising your values and you're not compromising their values, because I think at the end of the day, that's what really matters. And also, I never really had like, oh my gosh, like Matt's the one experience, and neither did he. Because I think that like in the course of our relationship, it didn't feel like something that we needed to achieve, but it felt just like a very natural progression of where our relationship was going. And personally for us, that was like our decision and what we thought was best for our relationship. I would never recommend for someone to have to do the same exact thing, but I also hate when people like crap on young people getting married because every relationship is different. Also, side note, I do really love being married young. I just feel like I do have more freedom to be who I am and to explore other aspects of my life and not have to worry about the romantic aspects. Granted, like relationships and marriages are work. And I also really love the piece of advice his mom gave us when we were getting married about saying that like marriage is the multiplying of joys and the dividing of sorrows. Also includes being like if one person's angry, you're both angry. I just do think it's a really beautiful thing to like have this one person who will really experience hopefully my entire life and I get to experience theirs. It's a really beautiful and honoring thing to be able to do. So how does your faith affect your activism / how have you stayed in touch with your spiritual side? So if you haven't noticed, in my Instagram bio I have a verse that references Isaiah 58, 6-7, which says, the reason why I have that is just like a personal reminder. This is the main reason why I fight for social justice. It is at the core of this message, and I believe it is the core of our entire belief, and how that's not a general consensus, I have no idea. But it's the reason why I fight for the environment and fight against fast fashion, because for me that correlates to this verse. Like our actions, whether they're direct or indirectly, should be to honor and free others. So that's like where I believe like my faith ties to my activism. However, during this time, it has been very difficult spiritually for me just because the world is like literally upside down, and I feel like I really am decolonizing a lot of what I've been taught growing up. I'm trying actually not to cry right now. It's been really hard just because it's something that's so tied to my soul and to my everyday life, and I just feel like I'm really deconstructing and decolonizing a lot of that right now. And it's just hard to figure out what I believe and what I don't believe and trying to sift through that. So spiritually it has been really rocky, but at the same time it's been really beautiful to be able to go through this journey and process, and I wouldn't wish to be anywhere else right now. Okay, so the last question is future plans, question mark. I literally don't have any idea what's gonna happen beyond 2020. It's wild. The world is literally burning. Trump or Biden will be our future president, so obviously the future is looking bright. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I'm just trying to survive day to day, and I wouldn't even imagine to be where we were just a few months ago, so I literally don't have the mental capacity or energy to really dream up anything big for the future. But again, like I said in the beginning, I'm just kind of like keeping my hands open to the future and whatever it holds. I literally can't with this year. It's literally a roller coaster. So the future just seems really wild. So no big plans, figuring it out. So those were just a few of the questions that were asked. I answered just a few more on my Instagram stories, so make sure to go check those out. But I thank you guys so much for those questions. I always really love being able to do a Q&A just because it helps me reflect on things I haven't really thought of in a really long time. I hope that these questions were also able to help you and give you more perspective into my own life, and maybe even for your own, and just broadening your own worldview. So I'll talk to you all later. Bye. Also, loving this dress. Feeling cute. Just want to show it off.